beaks, I've raised beaks, I know it. Get in the car, get in the car, get in the car, get in the car. Go, 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 go.
Oh, that escalated quickly.
And we are not to be taken seriously at all.
Through and make it so it's impossible for this all day long. You're just wasting your time, man. Don't expect too much from us. How you doing? My name is Harry and this is Bug Out Montana. This is Jason. And we're going to talk a little bit about the what if scenario. Okay, so real quickly, we all have these realistic day-to-day activities that we go through. And we fantasize sometimes, romanticize about the day when the power is turned off and how exciting that would be and how the government would fall and we would be our own operators of our homes and state. But you know what?
Sitting in the corner of the house with our Bible and our gun.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, not worrying about the seasons, not worrying about the horrific things that go on when a collapse happens. So let's talk about that real quick. We're sitting here in our homes, comfy, warm, on the internet, and doing our thing, and then all of a sudden, bunk! Everything is no longer there. Everything that we know, the computers, our laptops, our TVs, our electricity, our blenders, our microwaves.
Our narcissism on Facebook.
Right? Gone. Our ability to hate people on Facebook and not be reprimanded for it. Gone. Our power is now ripped from our hands. We are now on our own. Let that sink in a little bit, because that's what it really is. You are now alone. You can't reach out to your moms, your pops, your friends. You can't look for solitude or anything that's going to comfort you on the internet. It's all gone. Now, do you feel a little weird? Do you feel a little alone? We're going to talk about that. We are now in a time where there is no power.
We're Amish. We're
Amish, yes. So now we're going to put on hats and grow some beards. Because that's what Amish people do.
And shun.
Yes. You've been
shunned.
So let's talk about our needs in the here and now versus our wants. Now that the power is gone.
What's the basics?
Well, what is the basics? Good call. So if you had to make a list of the top 5 things that were the most important things that would sustain life, what would that be? What would be your number 1?
Obviously, we got food and water. Food and water is, you know, the most basic thing.
Okay.
What's the rule of threes, Harry?
The rule of 3 is 3 days without water. Well, sorry, actually, if you want to go from the very, very beginning, 3 minutes without air, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. And if you want to go into the defensive mechanism of it, you go with 3 hours without a defensive mechanism. Because if you were to be thrown in a location, all the variances and the X factors, you may go a week without a confrontation. You may go 3 minutes without with a confrontation. So you want to make sure you have some form of defense.
3 hours is a good.
Yeah, 3 hours. And that's the same 3 hours with a shelter too, depending on where you're dropped. So you need to make sure you have that shelter as quickly as you possibly can, because it may be a beautiful day, or you may be thrown in the tundra where you've got 1.5 feet of snow and you need to immediately make a shelter for the outside variances.
True.
Make sense?
True. Yeah.
Right on. So water, food, what else?
You know, shelter, you have to have shelter.
Yeah, you do.
We're in western Montana, and you don't want to be found outside. Even when we have 100-degree days, you don't want to be outside cooking. And then overnight. And definitely in the wintertime, you don't want to be found outside.
Absolutely.
You need something to protect you from the elements. Yeah.
Well, lucky for us, the way we live now is we have lots of shelters all over the place. Some of them abandoned. Cars, trailers, boats, houses, apartments, I mean, mobile homes, whatever you can find, that's a shelter. What we do here at Bug Out Montana is we break shelters into 3 different categories, and it's dictated by time. The first one is a a natural shelter. The natural shelter is literally a cave, something that you can find without doing anything. Tuck yourself in there and survive a night. So you're looking at caves, fallen trees, abandoned vehicles, something that you can get to in a matter of minutes. in case of
And
an
being
emergency.
temporary, you know, a good canopy of trees
Absolutely.
from the rain or
Yeah.
the snow, that'll really help.
Super temporary. The next one is a short-term shelter. Now those things will survive 3 months, maybe 4 months out of the year. But when you start getting into heavy rain or snow issues, that's where you're going to want a different shelter. So it's just what it says, it's a short-term shelter. And those sorts of things can be tents, teepees. Some people can have a very well constructed teepee that will survive the whole year.
Yeah.
But most of the teepees out there now are just tarps. They're kind of people
Tarps,
have fun with them.
lean-tos, yeah, a little bit of paracord, and
Yep.
you're good.
Very good. So the last one is a long-term shelter, and we just happen to be in a long-term shelter, which is a structure. Now you can make lots of things your long-term shelter. It can be a car. As uncomfortable as that would be, it would be feasible for an emergency scenario. I've seen people do it in boats. I've seen people do it in small trailers, whatever they can get into. The back of a bus, whatever it is. That's a long-term shelter because you have defense mechanism because of the way it's constructed, but you also have the ability to heat it from the inside. You're not gonna lose heat.
Temperature control is a major component. Yeah.
Absolutely. So we have the shelter. What's something else? What about
You have some defense. Because
defense?
If you have things that, even the minimal things, like an MRE or something small or anything, someone else is going to want it, period. So you would have to defend yourself. Good men turn bad and bad men get worse. I mean, that's what's going to happen. If you have children, it's going to make decisions hard for people, and people get desperate.
Oh boy, yeah, extremely. I mean, who wouldn't do anything for their children, right? I mean, good heavens, you would take a perfect person, a very church-going young man, and turn him into a robbing thief because
Opportunist.
yeah, it turns into a person will do whatever he has to do to ensure the life and safety of his children.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that defense mechanism or the defense itself. There are thousands of different ways to defend yourself, mentally, physically, emotionally, but we're going to go with the more physical defense.
Yeah.
So we have the rifle, we have the handguns, we have all these
edged weapons.
Yeah.
Sprays. You can do pepper spray if you really want to. If you're not into weaponry, that's a good alternative.
What about
People say
just
to use it for bears, but
physical self-defense.
yeah,
Knowing how to strike people, knowing where to kick people, knowing what to do in order to get away from somebody. That's always very good. And it's whether you like guns, you don't like guns, you like swords, you think they're evil, you think a gun's going to walk up and shoot somebody, whatever your feelings are with that sort of thing, it really doesn't matter. As long as you have something, I don't care if it's a sharpened stick, something to protect yourself, okay? Because we have been bred into a society where we didn't need to have horns, we don't need to have claws, we don't need to have sharp teeth.
we use our words.
We use, and that can be a very defensive mechanism. But we haven't been given these things. So you're going to have to make with what you are comfortable in using. I mean, if a guy picks up a rifle, never shot a rifle before because he's anti-rifle, now he has to defend his family with this rifle, he's going to look like an idiot. He's going to end up shooting himself.
Yep. Become a liability.
So whether you like it or not, at least be proficient or at least know the mechanisms of a rifle, a handgun, whatever you may have to pick up off the ground, okay? All right, anything else?
Including defense, or
Oh, just including defense, yeah.
Food, shelter. You got to have hygiene / medical,
Ooh, snap.
because you can't go to the ER. You can't go. You have an ambulance come pick you up. A little tiny cut can turn into an infection, and you will die. Period.
I was talking to my wife the other day, and I said, we're sitting here in our home, and she had a really bad headache. And I said, imagine being out underneath a small shelter with your child who is sick. You're stressed out. You're looking for food. You're wondering if you guys are going to eat that night. I'm away from you because I have to go out and get some food or do whatever I have to do.
And people want the food that you
have.
so.
And you're surrounded by people you don't know. You don't know what's going to happen to your family or friends. Everything is a confusion fear of fear. So let's say that happens, and now you have that migraine headache on top of it. What kind of person are you going to be? I mean, are you going to be incapable of surviving? Or are you going to get up and allow it to say, or allow yourself to say, yeah, I got a headache, but I still have to survive. I still have to push through it.
Yeah, you got to create morale where there is none.
Yeah,
that's a big thing.
it's very, very hard. We romanticize, once again, this idea of survival. And we seem to do it in these very convenient places, like on our couches, where we're nice and warm, watching it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, boy, if I was on this Survivor channel, I would do this and I'd do that. I would show them what's up. Yeah, I'm sure you would. So...
Mall ninjutsu.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about another one. We've got defense out of the way. Medical, you said.
You got to have some kind of medical skill along with all the products. You know,
Yeah.
all of us mall ninjas, you know, we buy up all this stuff. I have a nice fancy little IFAK here. It's got everything. It's got a chest seal in there. It's got an
For
Israeli
the
bandage.
audience, what is an IFAK?
IFAK, individual first aid kit.
Perfect.
And it's loaded with all kinds of stuff that I barely know how to use. So how much of a liability am I going to be when someone's got a gash on their leg? I'm going to be a pretty bad liability. So
Right.
unless I study how to use this and practice stitching up a banana or applying a quick clot or something to stop bleeding into a wound, I'm not going to know how to use it. A chest seal? How the heck do you put that on if you got a hairy chest, man? You know? Anyway, I know how to use an AED.
That's why
and
you've got a
there.
knife.
Yeah, you have a razor in there for that.
Yes.
That's something to do. So, but first aid, and this is trauma. What about your everyday little cuts and nicks? You know that could get infected.
Yeah.
You step on a nail and you forget that, and then you got lockjaw by 48 hours. So it gets ugly.
Yeah, absolutely. What we try to do is we break it up into 3 different categories for medical reasons. The first category is your boo-boo kit, right? And your boo-boo kit's going to have your Band-Aid, your gauze, your disinfectant, maybe some allergy pills, just something super simple. Most people keep this sort of kit in the kitchen, but you would want to have this
Sunscreen.
on hand. Oh yeah, just the simple
stuff.
family day-to-day stuff, right? Ibuprofen, maybe some eye wash, some contact solution, something.
Yeah.
So what you do is you have that kit, but then you're going to have to be more specific at a certain issue that has happened. So you take that kit, you move it over here, and the next kit is the trauma kit. It's almost like the IFAK, but it's going to have a lot more stuff in it. And the purpose of the trauma kit is exactly that. Large amounts of trauma, lacerations, punctures, broken body parts. These are things where I was going through a medical program, and that's what it specified about, were broken body part, large amounts of deformity. And not only do you have to mindset yourself, but you also have to be able to do something about it. So that's the purpose of the trauma kit. The next one is what we call the sick kit, and that's for self-explanatory, being sick. If you have any medications that you take, or if you need insulin, or if you need certain allergy medicines, antibiotics, pain relievers, whatever it may be, that's the sick kit. I'm going to give you a heads up. In times of severe stress and lots of running around, and your body does some weird stuff, but 95% of the time it's in your stomach. You've got heartburn, your stomach, you feel like you want to throw up and puke or throw up and have diarrhea at the same time. It's really, really bad. So you need to make sure you have that. Pepto-Bismol, you want to make sure you have anything that's going to help calm your stomach, and you're going to be using a lot of it. So there you go.
Yeah, good breakdown of different kinds of medical areas.
Yeah, so we walked through the stuff that we need and we want. Now let's talk about computers. Is there a computer out there or technology out there that we would want to keep that would be an asset to us?
You know, there's a lot of folks in the prepper community who will keep a laptop computer, maybe a smaller one, because they're into communicating. They still want to be able to communicate when there's no power. So if you have an ability to charge your electronic devices, a radio, a computer, walkie-talkies, things like that, then yeah, technology can play a part. You know, if you want a text message, for example, you know, if you have those little Baofeng radios, which are two-way radios, and you have a computer and you have a program on there, you can type text messages that are encrypted, and undecipherable, and you can transmit that, usually line of sight, unless you happen to be able to manage a repeater that runs on solar power or a generator, for example. So yeah, there's a place for technology. Keeping a library of health and medical books may not be the best thing electronically. Get those in print if you can, but there could be a purpose for having technology. Coded communications is one of them.
Oh yeah.
So,
no, that's great stuff. And I'm not
technically inclined.
And thank you. Good heavens! I mean, just self-explanatory right there. Okay, so anyways, that is something that is beyond me because that's not my expertise. But for Jason here, he's super savvy when it comes to that. And I would literally, if that were to happen, I would say, hey, give your equipment to Jason because he knows what to do with it. Jason would have a whole bunch of just stuff.
Another real practical use for this. Picture yourself 6 months into a no power or no fuel environment and you're trying to survive. Kids, there's children everywhere. And if you happen to have some movies on your laptop,
oh boy,
and you whip that out one day on a particularly low morale kind of day, and you can put on Big Hero 6 or something, man, kids will freak out.
Yeah,
you'll never get them off that. Nothing will be dead in 5 minutes. But the point is, it's a morale booster too.
Yeah,
because it's a comfortable thing of a bygone era. When you have
something that was gone. Yeah,
you won't be able to Facebook and talk trash about people, but you can watch videos.
And what about the battery content? I mean, you could rip this thing apart if you find other laptops, and was it stacked 1, 2, 3s? Is that what they are?
Those are the batteries that are in laptops are 18650 batteries, which are really becoming more and more popular in a lot of electronics, and that's what laptops use. They're lithium ion, some are lithium polymer. So if you can charge those are some of the best cells you can have.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there still becomes resource in something that's dead and worthless.
Oh yeah.
Story of my life. Okay, so that being said, let's jump on to one other fact or an idea that we wanted to talk about real quick. That idea was something that we were actually talking about earlier. Do you remember what it was?
About having things printed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what about if you were on your way running out your door? Do you have a packet or a kit of stuff like birth certificates? Maybe something that proves that the house was yours, some sort of a mortgage documentation, or medical information, or
insurance,
mortgage, marriage certificate, anything, driver's license, children's information, just for family history. I mean, when you separate, things go crazy. So sometimes that information, that hard information, not the stuff that's in your computer, is what's going to survive. And you're going to want to keep that information. I know that I need to do better at that. I need to get my information in a packet, at least the important stuff, so that I can grab that and bolt. What about you?
No, you're right. You think of disasters that have happened, like Katrina, where people lost their homes. I mean, wholesale. I mean, there's full cities lost homes, and every time there's a tornado whipping through Kansas, Oklahoma or something like that, Joplin, and time comes to make an insurance claim.
Right.
They were delayed weeks and months, and because everyone's doing it all at once, only those people who might have scanned some documents, put them on a thumb drive or something small, or put it in a safe deposit box, or had it stored, scanned and stored on a computer that they might have had safeguarded, they can make a claim a lot sooner and get ahead of everyone else before the insurance agency goes bankrupt.
Right.
Because that happens. And let's say you have to flee to Canada because Montana is no longer hospitable, and how are you going to prove your identity if you don't happen to have a wallet anymore?
Yeah.
A lot of good reasons to make electronic copies of things that you might, you still might not be able to reproduce them on a computer later on, but if you can, it's a huge advantage. I think, so.
Really what it's all about is, number one, is sustaining life, and number two, being smart about sustaining life. Now, you can work hard for it and go through all the trials and errors, or you can listen to guys like us that totally know what we're talking about. Totally.
We're on the internet.
Crying out loud. Everything's true on the internet. Don't be wise. Anyways, you can listen to stuff and seek information for yourself, and hopefully have everything determined beforehand. So that being said, my name is Harry. This is Jason. This is Bug Out. We appreciate your time.